On the morning of October 7, 1571, two fleets rowed toward each other across the Gulf of Patras. Between them, 400 galleys, 200,000 men. The largest concentration of naval power assembled since the battles of ancient Greece. When they meet, the noise is described by survivors as something beyond war. The screaming of oars, the collision of hulls, the thunder of cannon at point-blank range, the sound of two civilizations trying to destroy each other on the surface of the same sea. By afternoon, it is over. More than 30,000 men are dead. And the balance of power in the Mediterranean, a balance the Ottoman Empire has been building for a century, has shifted in a single day in a way it will never fully recover from. By the end of this video, you will understand why Lepanto is considered the last great clash of oared warships in history, and why the way it was won made that era of naval warfare obsolete almost immediately. You will learn how a 24-year-old commander with almost no naval experience led the largest Christian fleet ever assembled into a battle most of his admirals believed could not be won. You will learn about the 12,000 Christian slaves chained to the Holy League's oars, and what the fleet did with them before the battle began. And you will learn why, despite being one of the most decisive naval battles in history, the Ottoman Empire was back at sea within a year. This is 1571, the year the sea itself ran red. For most of the 16th century, the Ottoman Navy has been the dominant force in the Mediterranean. Under a succession of brilliant admirals, most notably Hayreddin Barbarossa, who effectively made the central Mediterranean an Ottoman lake in the 1530s and 1540s, the empire has systematically extended its naval reach westward, raiding European coastlines, capturing Christian ships, and reducing the freedom of movement of every Christian maritime power simultaneously. Venice, the most powerful Christian naval state in the Mediterranean, has been losing ground steadily, island by island, trading port by trading port, trying to balance war and commerce against a neighbor too powerful to confront directly. In 1570, the Ottomans move against Cyprus, the last major Venetian island in the eastern Mediterranean. Cyprus falls after a brutal campaign ending with the Venetian commander Marcantonio Bragadin flayed alive by the Ottoman commander who had promised him safe passage, a deliberate act of psychological warfare that sends a message to every Christian ruler in Europe about what Ottoman victory looks like. The message lands. Pope Pius V spends months assembling something that has never existed before, a genuine coalition of Christian naval powers willing to fight together. The Holy League brings together Venice, Spain, the Papal States, Genoa, and several smaller Italian states, powers that have spent decades competing, arguing, and occasionally fighting each other, now unified by the shared recognition that Ottoman naval dominance has become an existential threat to every one of them. The combined fleet is extraordinary by the standards of any era. Over 200 galleys, plus supporting vessels carrying somewhere between 60 and 70,000 fighting men, including infantry, artillery crews, and oarsmen. Command is given to Don John of Austria, an illegitimate son of Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, half-brother of Philip II of Spain, 24 years old, with military experience on land, but almost none at sea. His appointment is controversial. Several veteran admirals, including the Venetian Sebastiano Venier, who has spent decades fighting the Ottomans, are skeptical of a young nobleman commanding the most important naval expedition in a generation. Don John understands something the skeptics do not. He has looked at the numbers and made a decision that will define the battle before a single oar strikes the water. He orders the iron rams removed from the prows of every galley in the fleet. The iron ram has been the primary weapon of naval warfare for 2,000 years. Don John removes them all. His reasoning He wants his ships to close with the enemy, lock together, and let his infantry, the finest in Europe, fight across the decks as if the sea were solid ground. Ramming keeps distance. Don John wants no distance at all. He also makes a second decision. The Holy League fleet is carrying approximately 12,000 Christian slaves chained to its oars, men captured in Ottoman raids, condemned to rowing until they die. Don John unchains them all. He arms them. He tells them that if the fleet wins, they are free. 12,000 men who have every reason to fight with everything they have are suddenly part of the battle. The Ottoman fleet commanded by Ali Pasha numbers around 230 galleys, slightly smaller than the Holy League force, but faster and more maneuverable. Ali Pasha has one significant problem. His own oarsmen are still chained. As the fleets approach each other, those Christian slaves know what is coming. They know somewhere across the water their side is rowing toward them. The Ottoman fleet also carries fewer experienced arquebusiers, the gunmen who are reshaping both land and naval combat. The Holy League fleet, particularly the Spanish contingent, carries significantly more and better equipped firearms infantry. The Ottoman fleet also has a shortage of experienced arquebusiers, the gunmen who have become increasingly decisive in land warfare and are beginning to reshape naval combat as well. The Holy League fleet, particularly the Spanish and Genoese contingents, carries significantly more and better equipped firearms infantry. Both sides know this battle will be decided in close quarters. Neither is willing to let the other choose the moment of contact. Both fleets form into line, the Holy League in a broad crescent, the Ottomans in a similar shape, each side stretching for miles across the Gulf of Patras. Don John sails along his entire battle line before contact, standing at the prow where every man can see him, passing close enough to each galley for its crew to hear him speak. Eyewitness accounts describe the effect on morale as immediate and visible. When the fleets close to cannon range, the Holy League's greater firepower tears through Ottoman galleys before they can close to boarding distance. Then the fleets crash together. What follows is not naval battle in any conventional sense. It is a land battle fought on moving, colliding, burning platforms on the surface of the sea. Galleys lock together and become bridges for infantry charging at point-blank range under arquebus fire, arrows, and pike thrusts. Ships catch fire with men still fighting on their decks. The water fills with wreckage, oars, and men trying to swim in full armor. At the center, Don John's flagship closes directly with Ali Pasha's flagship. What happens on their decks will decide everything. Ali Pasha is killed on the deck of his flagship during the fighting. His head is raised on a pike, a brutal signal sent across the entire battle line. The effect is immediate. The Ottoman center and right collapse. The left wing, commanded by Uluç Ali Pasha, manages to disengage and escape with a significant number of ships, the only substantial portion of the Ottoman fleet to withdraw intact. By mid-afternoon, the battle is over. Approximately 200 Ottoman galleys are captured or sunk. Between 25 and 30,000 Ottoman men are dead. 12,000 Christian slaves freed from Ottoman oars are liberated from the captured ships. News of Lepanto reaches Europe within weeks and triggers celebrations unlike anything since the Great Siege of Malta 6 years earlier. Pope Pius V reportedly receives word during a meeting, stands up, opens a window, and says, "It is not a time for business, but for thanksgiving to God." And then the Ottoman Empire does something that should shock everyone. Within a year, it has rebuilt its fleet. New galleys, new crews, new commanders. The Ottomans lose Cyprus permanently, but they retain North Africa and most of their eastern Mediterranean possessions. The war ends in a negotiated peace that leaves the strategic map largely unchanged. A Spanish admiral commenting on the Ottoman rebuilding reportedly says the Ottomans had shaved his beard at Cyprus, and at Lepanto he had cut off their arm, but a beard grows back, while a cut arm does not. History proves him only partially right. Lepanto is the last great battle of oared warships in history. The galley, the weapon that has defined Mediterranean naval warfare since the Phoenicians, since the Athenians at Salamis, since the Romans at Actium, fights its final major engagement in the Gulf of Patras in October 1571. Within decades, sail-powered warships carrying heavy cannon in broadside arrangements will make the galley obsolete entirely. The speed, the maneuverability, the infantry on deck tactics that defined Lepanto will be replaced by ships that fight from a distance, by weight of cannon fire rather than by the strength of oarsmen and the courage of boarding parties. Don John of Austria dies 7 years later at 31 from typhus, never having fought another battle remotely like this one. Among the wounded at Lepanto, recovering on a galley with his left hand permanently crippled by a gunshot wound, is a Spanish soldier named Miguel de Cervantes. He will later call Lepanto the most noble and memorable event that past centuries have seen or that future ones can hope to see. He will also write Don Quixote and become the most celebrated writer in the Spanish language. History has a habit of putting its witnesses in unexpected places. What makes 1571 significant is not simply that the Holy League won. It is what the battle revealed about how wars at sea were changing. Don John's decision to remove the rams and arm the slaves was not just tactical. It was a statement about what naval warfare was becoming. Not a contest of ship against ship, but of firepower, infantry, and the willingness to close with the enemy at the worst possible range. The galley slave who rowed himself into battle, armed by the same fleet that held him in chains, and fought for freedom he could only earn at the point of a sword. This figure contains more of the 16th century's contradictions than almost any other. Lepanto did not end the Ottoman threat. It did not recover Cyprus. What it ended was something more subtle, the assumption that had existed for a century that Ottoman naval power was something Christian Europe had no answer for. That assumption died in the Gulf of Patras on October 7, 1571. And it did not come back. 1571. The year 400 ships met in the Mediterranean and settled a century of naval dominance in a single afternoon, not because one side was stronger, but because one side understood what the battle needed to be before the other side did. If this story made you think, leave a comment. Do you think Lepanto deserves to be remembered alongside Salamis and Trafalgar as one of the decisive naval battles in history? Subscribe to the Vault of Numbers. Every week, one number, one story history forgot to tell you. The next number in the vault: a king took 300 men to a narrow mountain pass. He knew they would not come back. He went anyway. The vault remains open.